Hello, my name is Alec and welcome to User Science. Today, let's start in a beautiful resort in Austria to talk about friction. I love skiing, but I can only ski because on snow there's a lot less friction than there is on ground. On ice there is even less friction, and that is why you can't stop very easily on it, and you ski.
Let's start with what is friction. Friction is a force that acts on any objects which are in contact with each other, not allowing them to move, or if the object is already moving, trying to stop it from moving. To do this, it always works in the opposite direction of movement, therefore slowing the object down. You experience friction almost everywhere without realising it. It's almost like the force in the Star Wars movies. In this video, we will learn how to spot different types of friction, and in the next video, we'll learn how to conquer friction. You see friction in your everyday life in actions like walking, running, moving around, sitting down, picking things up, climbing, and other things. Cars rely on friction to stop. Air resistance and water resistance are both other types of friction. You feel it more in the water because you kick through the water and that allows you to swim. There are two big types of friction: static friction and kinetic friction. Static friction is the force between two surfaces or objects that are not moving against each other. A simple example of static friction is the force that allows you to stand without sliding, walk, run, and hold your phone while you're playing games, like Pokemon Go. Static friction acts on you while you're walking as your foot is on the ground for a fraction of a second, and that is still enough time for static friction to act upon your foot. Yesterday I climbed this rock. I would not have been able to climb it without the force of static friction, for my hands and feet would just slide straight off the rock. Static friction is the most powerful of all the friction forces. Can you think of any other examples of static friction? Kinetic friction is the force of friction that applies to moving objects. There are three different types of kinetic friction: fluid friction, sliding friction, and rolling friction. Here I will show you one example of sliding friction. Skiing's fun and I can't wait until our next skiing holiday, but how can we prove that sliding friction is less powerful than static friction? We can prove it by when you're standing on skis, when you're not moving, you've got a lot more power, as in you can choose when to go, you're not going to just go sliding off. But once you're moving, it's a lot harder to stop. Another example is if you're sitting at the top of the slide, you can choose when you want to go down. But once you're going down, it's not as easy to stop yourself from going. The Tarzan swing in Go Ape is another example of sliding friction. You slide on a smooth safety device, as you can see in this picture. Brake pads on a bike are another example of sliding friction.
This is my brother's bike. I'm going to show you the force of sliding friction in a bike's brakes. When I spin it, it continues to move forward and eventually stops. However, I'll spin it again and I'll use the brake. It stops instantly. I'll show you again.
Rolling Rolling friction is when an object rolls across something. Rolling friction is very easy to spot, and there are lots of different things which include rolling friction. Things like Lego cars and normal cars, that means anything with wheels, balls, as well you can also have logs and rollerblades and bikes. Rolling friction is weaker than static friction and sliding friction. These are my skates. Their key element is ball bearings, as this allows them to slide long distances with just one push. Ball bearings is where there are small balls inside a big wheel. This reduces friction. Here in the photo, you can see an example of what ball bearings look like. Ball bearings and weak rolling friction is used in the design of fidget spinners. Inside a fidget spinner, there are small balls connected like a mini bracelet. It is used to make the fidget spinner move a lot more quickly and really smoothly. Another type of friction is fluid friction. Fluid friction acts on an object that is moving through a liquid. Air resistance is another version of fluid friction, just the friction is moving, or the friction is happening in air rather than in a liquid. You experience fluid friction when you're swimming in an airplane for air resistance, and also another one for water resistance is if you're in a boat or submarine. Here, me and my brother are having a small swimming race. We are using fluid friction to allow us to swim. What affects the strength of friction? First of all, it depends on how hard the surfaces push against each other. For example, when you rub your hands, you experience heat because friction creates heat. If you rub your hands even harder, then that creates more friction, and therefore your hands get hotter. It is more difficult to move heavy objects as they have more friction. The second thing which affects the strength of friction is the type of surfaces involved. The bumpier and rougher the surface, the stronger the friction, and the smoother the surface, the weaker the friction.
Look, the tyres on this vehicle, as you can see, are very bumpy, and that increases friction. That means that this vehicle can go up absolutely any slope. It is a very good combination of friction, as here, there's a lot of friction, so it can move up the slope. Well, there's very, very, very little friction, so that it can glide along very smoothly behind the snowmobile.
Now I'm going to show you several photos of friction in action. Stop the movie and try and figure out which type of friction you can see is being used in this picture, and then move on. Hope this little video helps you to spot 4 different types of friction: static friction, rolling friction, sliding friction and fluid friction, and their relevant strengths. In the next video we will learn how to control and conquer the force of friction. Bye, and may the force be with you.